Welcome to the latest edition of our Kearney Procurement and Analytics Solutions, The Wave of the Future podcast series. I'm Helen Clegg, and I'm joined today by Amanda DeCook and Jake Raska from our Kearney Procurement and Analytics Solutions practice, where Amanda is a senior sourcing analyst based in Sydney, Australia, and Jake a sourcing analyst based in Chicago. Amanda and Jake are going to share the results from a survey they conducted about igniting your career. Over 20 participants ranging from 1 to 28 years of experience across 30 industries responded with open-ended answers to 5 simple questions. Amanda and Jake, first of all, welcome to our podcast series. Now, Amanda, I'd like to start with you by asking you what inspired you to conduct this survey. So can you give us a little bit of context around the survey, why it was conducted, and go from there?
So I was asked to speak at the ISM Diversity conference regarding igniting your career. And I also had recent grads all the time ask us about, what's the best way to get my career off on the right track? What can I do to set myself apart? And, I had my personal opinions, as did Jake, but we thought it'd be really important to see what everyone else thought and to get a broader perspective. So by asking 5 simple questions to the professionals in our network, both internal and external at Kearney, we were able to get a very well-rounded response.
So, Jake, what were the main truths you uncovered through the survey that you conducted?
So there are really no surprises here. It's pretty straightforward. While we went through and categorized everyone's open-ended responses, we saw the same themes continue to reoccur, such as building relationships. So the stronger your network is, the better. It's important that it continues to grow, and it's crucial for long-term success. Seizing opportunities. So when an opportunity presents itself, take it, even if it involves taking a risk. Obtaining balance, so knowing when to push back, but also being cognizant of when to have patience. Exceeding expectations, so that's really taking pride in your work and always putting in 110% effort. Forget about entitlement as well, and what this really means is leaving your ego at the door. Asking questions, it shows you're engaged and it's a great way to learn. Displaying confidence, this is the basics. Smile, sit up straight, speak with clarity. And give back, pay it forward to the next generation.
Jake, that's a really useful summary. Thank you. It's interesting to hear you talk about giving back and forgetting entitlement and leaving your ego at the door and bringing in humility. Those aren't really talked about so much that I'm aware of. So, Amanda, coming back to you, during the survey, you asked respondents to state the best thing they did when they started their career. So, honing in on that for the moment, what answers did you get to that question?
The respondents were extremely passionate about relationship building, and it wasn't just about finding a mentor, which of course is very important. They also stressed the importance of building a network of your peers and people with about 2 to 3 years more experience than yourself. So you should have really 3 solid networks internal to your organization when you first start, and also build relationships externally. Other popular themes include obtaining balance, making sure you don't take on too much too quickly, seizing opportunities. Don't be afraid to take some chances, whether that's geographically or different industries. Really taking the opportunity to ask questions while you're new and can do that. And then, of course, exceeding expectations, doing good work, and working hard.
Jake, coming back to you, what would you have done differently when you started a new role? And can you share with us what the survey respondents answered for that as well? What would they have done differently if they could have had their time again?
So for me, I really wish that I would have had more confidence in myself and in my abilities, which was also a common trend amongst the respondents. But of the most popular, we saw building relationships, exceeding expectations, asking questions, obtaining balance, and seizing opportunities.
So again, those themes are recurring about exceeding expectations and making sure you ask questions when you're new in a role. It's a really great time to ask those questions that otherwise might seem a little bit silly later on, and try and get that balance as well. Jake, I see you also ask people in the survey about what practices they themselves have observed and are trying to emulate as well. So what were some of the common responses there?
So overall, we had some well-rounded responses. But for the most part, we saw people that were trying to build stronger relationships, build out their network, exceed expectations, and maintain balance in their life.
Amanda, coming back to you, we've talked about the right things to do when you're changing career or starting a new role, but what's on the don't do list? What did you learn from the survey when it came to, things not to do or beware of?
Overwhelmingly, like 90% of answers were talking about the need for humility and to leave your ego at the door. Especially when you're starting, if you come across as entitled, it deters a lot of people. Other popular things are about not taking risks, so don't be too scared to try a new city or move to a new place, as well as taking on too much too soon or not trying hard enough. So, really, have some humility, take a chance, and have some balance.
So, Amanda, if your survey participants could give one piece of advice, what do you think they would say?
People were very passionate in communicating the importance of exceeding expectations and doing good work. At the end of the day, you need to be a rock star and just knock it out of the park. Other strong responses were about seizing opportunities and really pushing yourself into new areas and taking those chances.
To wrap up, Amanda, have you applied these themes that you've talked about? Have you applied them to your career? And if so, how have things worked out for you?
So far, it's been working out pretty well. I've been working in consulting now for 3 years, and I've really strived to build relationships. Building relationships has presented me with a lot of fantastic opportunities, such as presenting at the ISM Diversity conference, taking part in recruiting, and finding some amazing mentors. Personally, I've also taken some risks and moved from our Chicago office to our Sydney, Australia office. And that's definitely paid off, where I've been able to live by the beach, take a ferry to work, and spending some time abroad.
Well, that sounds pretty good, Amanda. I like the idea of taking a ferry to work. That's really very, very nice a way to commute. So, Jake, what about yourself? What out of the themes that we've talked about in this podcast, which of those have you applied to your career, and how's it worked out for you?
So, like Amanda, applying these themes have really allowed me to ignite my career. For me, asking questions has really been the most important and has allowed me to grow and learn exponentially. Seizing opportunities has also been extremely impactful as well and has allowed me to take on some roles that have really stretched myself.
Thanks, Amanda and Jake, for sharing your insight with us and for also for giving back. I think that's really important. You're sharing what you've learned from the survey, and we're hoping that people changing their career or taking on a new role will get something out of what you're sharing today. For me, it's been interesting listening to the common themes that you've cited. The three that stand out the most are about building a network internally with peers who have 3 more years experience than yourself. I think that's actually really quite interesting and insightful, looking for networking opportunities with people who have more experience so you can learn more from them. Secondly, bringing humility to the job. I think humility is an incredibly valuable trait today and not one that we see a lot of, so that's very interesting. And also giving back. I think more and more people want to do that, and there's an increasing need for it. So again, thank you for sharing your insight. And on that note, I'd like to thank Amanda DeCook and Jake Raska for being my guests today. I'd also like to thank our production engineer, Tom Klein, based in San Francisco. Thank you for listening to this edition of The Wave of the Future. If you have any comments on this podcast or you have a suggestion for a podcast topic that you'd like to see us cover, please share your thoughts via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @ATKPAS. This has been an A.T. Kearney Procurement and Analytics Solutions podcast production. Join us again soon for our next Wave of the Future podcast.